Hey YouTube, how's it going? So first off, I just want to talk about, to simplify the painting, what I like to do is I like to use a 5-gallon bucket of paint, and then I'll empty that into another 5-gallon paint with a screed, just like this. And then I have my cup pot off to the side, like this, that I can work out of with a brush. So you got your brush, you got your cup pot, you got your main material, and you've got a 5-gallon off to the side with a screed and a roller. Okay, so there's 3 things that you really need to know about paint. First is it's going to be messy. The second is that it's going to be time consuming. And the third is that it's the easiest way to add value to your house and also clean your area. Click. Okay, because you know it's going to be messy, the first thing that you want to do is go ahead and put down as many drop cloths as you can to cover the area. This particular instance is going on this wood floor, which we're going to refinish later. So I'm just going to put us a nice little landing pad here so we don't track a whole bunch of paint out into the hallway. Just keep in mind, the more that you protect everything that's around you, the better your job is going to be in the end. So you might say, where would I want to start? Well, the place that's best to start is on the ceiling. So what I like to do is I like to come with my cup pot, and I got my brush. See, I like to use an angled sash like this for cutting in. It's about a 1.5 inch brush. You get right on up there and start cutting it in. Now, because we're doing the ceiling first and the walls next, you don't have to worry about too much about getting it on the walls. But I like to try and keep it as clean as possible. Just make sure that you overlap that corner just a smidge so that when you cut in the walls, it'll be painting the corner. So normally I just do about 1.5 inches of cut in, and then what happens is I'll cut in half of the room, and then I'm ready to roll. The reason you only do half the room is because you want to keep that edge wet. If it dries before you start rolling, then you're almost like putting on 2 coats. We don't want that. So when I roll, I go ahead and get some material on the roller, and I'll come out and just go ahead and start getting the material up there. Add some more paint to the roller. You want to zoom in on the roller. So you just dunk it in there a little bit like this, and then get any excess off with the screed. That's what the screed's for. So you got your material on the roller. Bam. Put another row just like that. And bam. So now I got some material up there. I go ahead and dunk one more time. And then get up here and start spreading it around. You can go diagonal, you can go horizontally. Just get what's up there spread out really well. So really quickly, I just want to talk to you about paint sheens and how that affects your overall finish. On the ceiling, what I like to do is use a flat sheen because it won't reflect as much light. Some people like to put a heavier sheen on the ceiling, maybe like an eggshell or a satin. And what happens is that when you put an eggshell or a satin and it has a high reflective value, you need to pay a lot more attention of the pressure that you're putting on the roller. Okay, what will happen is you put way too much pressure on one side and it'll leave a line like this in the finish. What that is called roping. The reason that that's happening is because you're not using even pressure on the roller. So it's one of these things that's difficult at first, but once you kind of begin to understand how it works, it's easy to overcome. So now that we're just about finished rolling out the entire ceiling, it's a good time to walk around and make sure that you don't have any places that you missed to paint, any voids where there is no paint. You know what they call that in the painting industry? It's called a holiday. Not sure why they call it that, because we're working, but see, here's a good example of a holiday right here. While it's still wet, it's a perfect time to go ahead and fix any of your voids, any of your holidays. And bam, just like that, the ceiling's rolled out. Next stop, wall. Okay, so now I just want to take a couple of seconds to talk about prep work. And taking off these plate covers is super important. Don't want to get any paint on there. What I like to do with the screws is I'll take them out, take the plate cover off, and then I put the screw right back in where it was. It's going to save you a lot of time later on without losing screws and keeping everything in order. Should go just right back in there, just like that. Couple twists, bam. So then what is a great time to go ahead and take these and either run them to the dishwasher or take them to the sink and scrub them really well. It's a nice tip. Okay, now we're ready to start painting the walls. Have your cup hot and you have your brush. Same brush I use for the ceiling. Not that big of a deal. Now, this is what's important. Is when I load my brush with paint, I dab it down in about an inch of paint, and then I kind of slop it on the sides like that to get any excess off. That'll help you from dripping. Now, when I get up here, I like to sort of stand at an angle to the wall. And what you're looking at is I'm actually pushing the bristles just enough to get a good angle for the cut-in right there. Okay? Just get just enough angle on the bristles. And take your time. This isn't a big hurry type of thing. If you're cutting in with a dark color to a light color, this is the most important part to having a professional job is the cut-in. So just get your angle right. Get your brush in there, get your material on the brush. Just go nice and easy. Like I say, there's no rush with this part. There you go. You just need about enough cut in that the roller edge will come up to it. And what's really important to me is that I just take it one wall at a time. I'm not worried about here. I'm not worried about this wall at all. So all that I'm doing is I'm doing one wall at a time. And I'm leaving just enough paint there for when I do come to this wall, it's already overlapping. Okay, so this is a technique that I like to use on practically every surface that I paint. I call it commercial painting, but maybe that's not what we call it. But what I do is get my roller all sopped up with some material meaning paint. And then I'll come in here, get plenty of material on there, and I'll leave about a 3-inch strip in between the last stroke, just like so. Just like so. Go ahead and get some more paint on your roller. And then now I'll come in here and do like some angle, a little bit of angling, making sure that I'm getting all of the texture filled in, making sure every little void is filled in. The hard part is just getting the material up there. Once you got it up there, you can spread it out. One more tip, if you're using a sheen, after I get my material spread out, I like to go and take and make sure that all of the paint is going in the same direction, like this. See, I'm rolling it all in the downward motion. Now what that does is it smooths out the area that we just put on diagonally in all these different directions. It brings the paint to one direction so that when it dries and there's a sheen, when you see the light hit it, it'll all be looking uniform. Okay. Whenever I'm pouring paint, it's a necessity to have a brush right next to me. And since I'm working out of this 5, I got my brush right next to me. Here's what I'll do, is I do it like this, pour maybe 2-3 inches worth of paint, Okay? And then I have my brush right here. I can use that to clean that lip off right away. If you don't clean that lip off right away, it's just going to drip down the bucket and make a big old mess. Okay. So, now that we have our paint, we'll go back to our rolling. This step out of the way here. Yeah, we want to have plenty of paint in there so that we're getting a good coat. Okay, I got my 3 rows. Go in for one more dunk. And I just get as close as possible. This seems like it accepts the paint a little bit better at an angle. If I do like a 45 like this. Get it in there real good. And then last but not least, I'll come and smooth for the sheen, keeping the edge of the roller, the metal part of the roller, facing the direction I'm going out. So on and so forth. That should be good. Here's a little tiny look at cutting in. And so what I like to do is, the main thing is getting the brush kind of parallel to the wall and then coming and having enough pressure on the bristles to where you can see that cut line. See how that's going? And it's not a fast thing, it's definitely a slow thing. So then I'll come back the other way and just make sure and clean that up. So. And you just kind of slowly keep working it until it's a nice straight line. The main thing is getting the appropriate amount of tension on the bristles, or enough pressure on the bristles to where the material flows through, I guess with capillary action is what they call that. You know, the small fibers and gravity. Okay? Just like so. So, let's go over that one more time. Brush. Parallel to the wall. And then just enough pressure so that the material flows and that you can cut a nice clean line. See? Nice and slow. Nice and enough pressure. Nice clean line. Come back. Straighten it out a smidge. Make sure all the stuff is in there. Okay, one more time. A lot of times people will put tape on there and all this crazy stuff, spend a whole bunch of time taping it off and painting it off. I don't think that that's necessary. Well, I think that if you're going to be painting, you should have a good, you should work on your skill level. Skill level needs to be able to cut it in. Doesn't have to be perfect. Like my friend said, it's not Sistine Chapels, so. Okay. Alright, we'll finish cutting this in and then we'll start heading around the corner.